Today we're going to start making a timeline of Earth's history, and I have a problem with every timeline you've ever seen. For example, your book has a timeline, and it starts here at today, and it goes back through the Cenozoic and the Mesozoic and the Paleozoic and Precambrian time. And it's condensed into 4 pages. It's nice. It's got pictures. It's got color. But it misrepresents the amount of time that's passing in Earth's history. This is 66 million years. This is about roughly 200 million years. So we're pretty much to scale there. And this is about 250 million years. So this is a little bit bigger than that. Okay, so we're pretty much to scale. But this is 4 billion years. They squeeze 4 billion years into this little slice, and the rest of this is about 500 million years. This should be 8 times bigger than the rest of it if we're going to do it to scale, if we're going to make it authentic. And there's another one in your book. Where is it? We're actually going to be using this one, so wouldn't hurt to flip back to it, and I missed it right here. It's on page 328. And it does the same thing. Cenozoic, that's 60 million years, roughly. This is about 200 million years. This is about 500. So we're doing okay to scale. And then this little purple thing at the bottom is 4 billion years. This should be 8 times bigger than all of this. If we're going to show it how geologists think Earth's history is, we have to put it to scale. Because a lot of the things don't make sense if we don't put it to scale. The idea that mountains form and then weather away, that doesn't make sense unless you understand that Earth began billions of years ago. And so we're going to make our timeline. We started last week. You cut strips. The next step is to tape them together. And we only need a couple today. But just overlap them a little bit. Put a piece of tape on there. If you have clear tape, you can, if you have transparent tape or Scotch tape, it's sometimes called, Scotch is a brand name. You could put one on both sides. If you're using masking tape or duct tape or something, just keep all of the tape on the back. It'll be a little floppier, but it'll still work. So for today, I think we can get away with just, we can just get away with just 2 pieces taped together. We'll set our other stuff off to the side. You know, we don't need scissors anymore. We won't really need our tape anymore. And now we're going to start our timeline. Now, the only time we're going to start with today and work backwards. We're going to work back to the left, and that makes sense. That's how most timelines are done, because they don't really end. Tomorrow our timeline would have to be longer. So if you put this assignment off, it's going to have to be bigger. I'm kidding. So we just need a place to start, and I'm going to measure maybe 10 centimeters in from the end. Don't make the end, because we're going to want to do stuff, and this doesn't have to be exact, but I'm going to make a mark 10 centimeters. This is really going to be easier if you can find a metric measuring device, whether it's a ruler or a meter stick or a tape measure with metric units on it. A ruler will work fine. You're going to have to lay it out a couple times, but if you have a meter stick, that's the easiest thing to use. So measure out 10 centimeters and use a straight edge. I'm using this as a right angle so I can get a nice square perpendicular line. And I'm going to actually make that dark because That's a bit, that's the present, that's today. And actually, I'm going to label that as the present. And everything gets measured back from that line. So that's always where we begin. We're going to be measuring things in millions of years ago or billions of years ago, always measuring back from that line. So back to the meter stick. Notice the meter stick is divided into centimeters, and each centimeter is divided into 10 millimeters. These are centimeters, 1, 2, 3, 4, and these are millimeters. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth line is a little bit longer, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 10 millimeters is a centimeter. That's what makes the metric system so nice. If you do this with a ruler with inches on it, it's gonna be harder for you. You'll have to convert everything. To convert, you divide by 2.54, and I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so let's get started. We're gonna have to do some math here, but the math is pretty easy because I made a scale. 1 centimeter equals 10 million years, and that's gonna work pretty well for us. So I want to know when things happened and put them in the proper place on our timeline. We're going to use this chart on page 328, and today we're just going to mark off the time, this line right here, when the Cenozoic began, and this line here, the time when the Mesozoic began, and this line here, the time when the Paleozoic began. So we will have these 3 divisions on our timeline at the end of today. So it starts here, and the Cenozoic goes back to 66.4 million years ago. So this is where the math comes in. 66.4 MYA, million years ago. If I divide that by 10, because my scale is 1 centimeter on my timeline equals 10 million years, I get 6.64 centimeters. And I'm going to measure back from the present. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be 6 centimeters. Point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then just a little bit more. So 6.64 is right there. It's between 6 and 7, and it's between 6.5 and 7. And we'll just guess at or estimate at the 0.4. But we can get 6.6 right on the nose and then estimate the 0.04. And again, we'll use a straight edge to make that as square as possible. I'll square it up with the top. Like the cover of a book or something would be even better for this. That's not perfect, but. And so that is this line right here between the Cenozoic and the Mesozoic. This is the Cenozoic. And let's go back to the beginning of the Mesozoic. That was 245 million years ago. And if I divide that by 10, I get 24.5 centimeters. And now I'm measuring back. Notice I'm measuring back from the present because we have million years ago, always measuring back from the present. 24.5, there's 20. There's 24, and 24.5 is that longer line right in the middle. Put my line across, square it up. And then that's this line right here, the Mesozoic, the line that separates the Mesozoic from the Paleozoic. And the Paleozoic began 544 million years ago. MYA, and I got that number right here, 544 million years ago. Here's the number of millions of years ago. 66.4 to the division between the Mesozoic and the Cenozoic. 245 to the division between the Paleozoic and the Mesozoic. And the division between the Precambrian and the Paleozoic was 544. Divide that by 10, and I get 54.4 centimeters. Measuring back from the present, I get 50, 51, 52, 53, 54.4 is right there. Square it up. And there's my division. Now, I'm going to go back with maybe a marker, maybe a colored pencil, make these lines bolder. Because these are big deals. These lines, that line is a big deal. It was the end of an era and the beginning of a new era. And there was an event that marks that. There's a reason they picked that as the dividing line. And there's a reason they picked this as a dividing line. And there's a reason that they picked this as a dividing line. There was a major event in Earth's history that marked that end of an era. And now I'm going to label those. I'm going to draw a line across. Nice straight line. Working with two desks so it bends a little bit. Let's do that with a marker. A little bit of a commitment to use a marker because I can't erase it, but be bold. How did that work? So sorry. Now I'm going to go back in and label this gap right here is the Cenozoic. So I'm going to, in big letters, bold letters, Cenozoic. Ceno means modern, zoic means life. So this is the modern life era. And then just to add a little, I'm going to shade that in. And I'll pick a different color and do the same thing for the Mesozoic. This is the Mesozoic. And I'll shade that in. Meso means middle, so this is middle life. Zoic means life. Middle life. Modern life, middle life. And paleo means ancient, so the Paleozoic era is the ancient life. Paleozoic. And we'll call that good for today, and we'll pick this up tomorrow. Have a good day.